Are you always out of tune? Always? Let's talk about it. So usually when we think about tuning our flute, we think about here. So how far it's pushed into the body of the instrument or how far we have to pull out to play the flute in tune. But today we're actually going to talk about the crown. So the crown may be something that you don't really think about very often, which is fair. You don't need to be thinking about the crown all the time. But this is the crown of your flute. Basically, this part of the flute is the stopper. If it were open, it wouldn't be a flute. It wouldn't make sounds, right? So you can see the crown. Mine actually has a ruby embedded in it, which is not functional. It's just total bling. I didn't buy it for that, but it just kind of happened to be there, and it's kind of fun. So inside the flute right here is a stopper, and usually it's cork. It could be other things, but you've got a cork here, and then there's a plate, kind of like a flat washer that goes underneath the cork, and that's your cork assembly, and that's what stops the flute. So over time, what happens, your flute gets hot in the summer, it gets cold in the winter. Cork is an organic material. When it gets hot, it swells up. When it gets cold, it shrinks. Over time, the cork kind of gets worn out. And what can happen sometimes is the crown, because the cork is worn out, gets loose. So if you can spin your cork, that means spin your crown, your cork needs to be replaced. Mine is not spinning because everything is in good shape. But if this just spins and spins and spins, that is not what you want to use as like your fidget spinner, right? You want to go in and have this cork replaced. So what does this have to do with being in tune or not, right? That was the topic of this video. The placement of your cork is supposed to be in a very particular spot. It's not just random. If your cork is not in that correct spot, you're going to have intonation problems. You're going to have tuning problems, and you're going to have a really hard time playing in tune. And the good news is it's not you, it's the flute. And it's really inexpensive to have this cork replaced. Okay, so before you blame yourself, and before you blame your flute, and before you blame all the flute players around you, how do you know, other than your spinning crown, if your cork is in the correct spot? You have a tool that you probably didn't even know you had. Do these look familiar? These are your cleaning rods, which you should be using every time that you play the flute to wipe out the inside. Some of them are made out of wood, and some of them are made out of metal. But if you look at the end of the cleaning rod, check it out. Right here is a notch, if you've ever wondered what this is. So to be quite honest, different flute brands are going to have their own cleaning rod that's going to have their own particular mathematical spot where the cork needs to be. So ideally, you're going to get the cleaning rod that goes with your particular flute. If you play a Yamaha, if you play a Gemeinhardt, if you play a Powell, you want to make sure that you get the appropriate cleaning rod. But then what you can do is you can measure with this notch and be super careful where the cork is. So, like I said, there's a flat metal piece right about here. And so that notch is supposed to be smack dab in the middle of your embouchure hole, okay? If it's not, if it's super misaligned, if it's here, if it's way, way up on this edge of the embouchure hole, you'll know that your cork is not properly seated and it needs to be adjusted, okay? So most of the time, this is going to be a cork replacement thing. And so again, it's usually very inexpensive to have it replaced. And you're going to notice a huge difference in how your flute plays in tune. So that's one thing to check. That's a little bit about the crown. That's a little bit about what this is on your cleaning rod. If you've noticed that your tuning is way out of whack, or if your crown spins and spins and spins as a fidget spinner, or if you double check your cleaning rod and it's way out of alignment, just take it to your friendly flute tech, had them replace your cork, and you'll be playing much better in tune. All right, drop any questions, comments, other flute stuff going on, and we'll see you next time.